Hi, I'm Dr. Aaron Anderson. I teach presentation skills for Fortune 500 companies all over the world. Today we're going to talk about how to organize your presentation. Have you ever sat through a presentation and at the end of it you weren't exactly sure what you were supposed to do with that information? Or have you ever sat through a presentation and you weren't entirely sure why you should care? It's because those presentations weren't well organized. So today we're going to go over a few simple tips that'll help you organize any presentation at any time. First thing you need to do is recognize that the presentation isn't about your information or about you. It's about what your information means for your audience. In other words, the first thing you have to do is figure out what your information means to your audience and why they should care. Once you've organized it in that way, with them in mind, then you can begin putting your presentation together. The second thing you need to do is have a hook. In the theater or in presentations, what we call a hook is something that grabs your audience's attention right off the bat, some reason they should care. So for instance, today I used the word you. Have you ever done this? Have you ever wondered this? And I made you feel a little bit bad about presentations. The very first thing you want to do is have something that grabs your audience's attention. This is called a hook. That's the first thing you should do to organize it. Figure out what it is you can do that will make your audience listen. The next thing you want to do is you want to chunk your information into simple units, and you want to have a limited amount of information. You don't want to lay out lots and lots and lots of details. You want to have at most 3 to 5 different chunks of information you present, and there's a reason for this. When you're giving a presentation, you're doing so, the audience is listening orally. What that means is they're processing it through their ears. And in order for them to follow it, they actually have to have a mental map in their mind of how this goes with that. And let me give you a little example. So if I say, I know something about Becky, that's one piece of information. If I say, I know that Becky knows something about me, that's 2 pieces of information. If I say, I know that Becky knows about the camera guy, that's 3 pieces of information. I know that she knows that he knows about him. That's 4 pieces of information. It's kind of confusing. If I go with 5, I know that she knows that he knows about that person and about that person over there. You've already lost me. This is the most information that you can hold in your mind at one time. So when you're giving a presentation, you want to say, here's 1 chunk of information, here's a 2nd chunk, here's a 3rd chunk, maybe a 4th chunk, and at the outside a 5th chunk. If you have to give more information than that, consider doing it in a format other than a presentation. The 4th thing you want to do is tell a story or use a prop or an image. Some of the best presentations I've ever seen told stories and props. The very best presentation I ever saw used a prop to get the information across. It was an IT manager for a large Fortune 500 company, and they needed to change the digital routers in the company. And instead of laying out all the facts and figures, what he did is he came out and he said, you all need these routers to work. You do so many transactions through them daily, and they bring in this much money for the company, but they need to work well. Let me show you something. And he went and he grabbed in a box and he pulled out just this square box that was one of the digital routers, and there was a little bit of smoke coming out of it. And he said, and they're not supposed to smoke. He laid it on the table. Any questions? Everybody was like, we will totally change that. That doesn't look good. He didn't lay out information. What he did was he told a quick story and he had that physical prop. That was enough to get the information across. Stories, props, and images are the best way to get information across. If you can use those rather than have a system of bullet points, your presentation is going to be much, much better. The last thing you want to do is make sure to end strong. What a lot of people do when they present is they just stop. They say, that's all I've got. Instead of doing that, what you want to do is have a summary or a closing statement or an action item at the end. So for instance, today we'll have a quick summary. We went over 5 steps for giving a good presentation. We said, make sure it's about them, have a hook, chunk it into small pieces of information, no more than 3 to 5, tell a story or use a prop, and finally end strong. By saying that summary, it's reinforced this information in your mind. In addition to this video, you should also have a document that'll lay out steps about how to put your presentation together. And you can get in touch with your chapter founder who can give you some additional information.